word there was about the finish, the finishing kick. Now, there was 21 runs off the 50th over of India's innings, but the big question is, on that pitch, in that ground, was it going to be enough? Did the kick come early enough? With 324 for 4, let's see what our experts make a sense of it after having a look at exactly where they stand. 324 for 4 at one stage, looking like 340, 350. So in that context, perhaps slightly under par. Overall, we felt that this is the kind of score that would be par on this pitch. Look at Dhoni at the end, 48 off 33, and a few big blows from a man who's not on that scorecard, that is Kedar Jadhav. But the platform was laid by Rohit Sharma and Shikhar Dhawan. Harsha Bhogle and Zahir Khan in the studio. Harsha, close to your prediction, but let's forget our predictions. We like to have a bit of fun in the studio.
Just because I'm close, you want to forget the prediction.
No. I started with complimenting you on that 4 runs away from it.
Okay.
But the real person who was wanting to make that prediction was Virat Kohli, because he wanted to bat first to try and make India a better setting side as opposed to a chasing side.
Yeah, I don't know what Zach feels. I think in most days you say 324. I still think India could have got more than 324, given the base India had. 86 in the last 10, in spite of a 21-run last ball over, 86 in the last 10 wickets in hand is still under par. And those overs 39 to 45, and India really went slow. So I think 324 is a good score. The bowlers still have to win it for you, but 340, 345 is possible. That's what I think.
Just the overs that he's talked about, 39th over 5 runs, and that was Ish Sodhi starting his final spell. He went for 11 in 3 overs. So they had 5, 2, 1, couple of boundaries of Trent Boles 42nd over, then 5, 6, 7. And this is, you're talking about the part where the kick should have already come in.
Absolutely. So when you look at the Crick Buzz Combox moment, 35th over, 206 with 8 wickets in hand. So that's a very, very strong position. So 90 deliveries, minimum you would expect 120 runs, and that's what happened today. So 120 runs were scored off those 90 deliveries. But when you have to be critical or you have to analyze it to that level, with this batting lineup, such strong batting lineup, with such strong position, how much would you expect? You had the team down, then you can expect maybe 140 runs. So that's what Harsha is talking about, like that 340 runs, 345. I think these runs are enough. Looking at the spin to win and the bowling, the kind of form Shami is in, so India should be able to win the match, but when you're talking about in the long run and you're talking about keep bettering yourself, I think this batting unit will be getting together and they'll be saying that, okay, what are the moments we could have capitalized on? How, from that 35th over mark, how can we finish stronger? Because if you don't have wickets in hand at that stage, you will be very happy with this kind of total. Yeah. But when you know the kind of strength this batting lineup has, I think they will be looking at it and saying that, okay, we are 20, 25 runs short, we could have done better.
And out of those last 86 that we're talking about, 35 came in the last 2 overs and a few boundaries at the end. We had a bottom edge, we had one just left by the keeper, a key catch drop, it should have been taken by Colin de Grandhomme's big hands. So
you're saying India lucky to get a 324? Are you, that it could have been less? Is that what you're...
Well, had New Zealand continued their momentum, we always talk about the momentum of the batting side, but once New Zealand had come back into the game, they would be disappointed that they haven't got India 305, 310.
True, but if you look at it from India's point of view, I still think that India should be a touch disappointed with 324. I still think, and if you see what happened today, Dhoni finished well when Jadhav was finishing well around him. Dhoni finished well in Australia when Kohli and Karthik were finishing well around him, or when Kedar Jadhav was finishing well around him in Melbourne. Kohli will finish well when someone else is finishing well around him. And that is why the more Kohli bats, the more Dhoni bats, the better Dhoni gets. And that is why all of us keep saying that if Dhoni bats at 4, he's got the deliveries behind him so that he can start scoring quicker, much earlier, not go down to 48 to 50. But clearly the plan is Dhoni bats at 5. I'm not casting aspersions on Rayudu. Rayudu struggled his way through, but he still scored at a strike rate of 95. For a number 4, that's all right.
Yeah. In 2018, if we have a look back at some of India's troubles in the last 10 overs, today was 86. Yes, helped by the last couple of overs.
Yeah, but 86 on a flat deck, small boundaries, wickets in hand.
Agreed. And if we've got a few numbers that we've pulled out from 2018, and these were ones that would be causes for concern. Hong Kong was get out of jail almost for India in Dubai there, but have a look at those two against South Africa and one against England. Under pretty much 60 or under in the last 10 overs, lost wickets, and again, they had a platform. If you look at 230 for 4 and 219 for 3, you'd be very disappointed with those finishes.
Look, when you put these numbers in perspective with today's match, you know, maybe the thought process has been that no matter what, you have to have two batters in. So even though it's a last 10 overs, you can't get into a situation where you've lost too many wickets and lost momentum. You know, so if we had lost too many wickets in today's scenario, probably the scoreline would have been 20 runs below par. So the thought process has always been revolving around getting to that par score, and that's why we've seen this this calculated risk kind of a scenario. Because if you look at the end of the innings, you know, you have MS Dhoni strike rate at close to 150, and you have Kedar Jadhav having that fantastic last over and getting it to 220. So maybe these numbers are suggestive of that fact that how the team discussion with regard to batting has been and approaching those last 10 overs has been that in that column of wickets, there have been too many wickets in the last 10 overs. And that's something which they've been consciously trying to avoid.
Maybe you're right. Maybe they don't want to lose wickets because maybe they think we don't have, if we lose wickets, then 8, 9, 10, 11. We don't have a lot of batting 8, 9, 10, 11. So let's not lose wickets in sort of 39, 40, 41. Let's not lose too many wickets so that we can finish at the end. And while that's a slightly conservative approach, given your weakness, it's ensuring that you're a little short. As Zach said, 324 might still win you the game. Yeah. And 324 is a good score, make no mistake. Don't judge 324 against whether it's a good score or a bad score. Just 324 against the situation the top three delivered to you. Given what top three delivered to you, 324 is a little short.
Or you go by Ian Chappell's logic. Every time you ask him, what's a good score on that pitch? He'd say 1 run more than the opposition scored. So if you've gone ahead and won the game, then I mean, you still want to have a look at it and say that could we have got a few more, but you'd know that in context of the game, New Zealand have fallen 15, 20 runs short, and you'd be happy. If New Zealand go on to win by 5 wickets, then I think there should be a bit of an inquiry going in there.
Maybe you need the Jadhavs at the end, who's very inventive. None of us take Jadhav seriously. It's very interesting. None of us take him seriously. And yet, look at the shots that he plays. You know, he'll play one flick for 6, he'll play one inside-out shot here for 4. If you need those kind of players when you have wickets in hand at the end.
Mount Maunganui also suggests the numbers there, and of course just the conditions, looking at it, that it's a good chasing ground. So obviously Virat Kohli has thrown himself and Team India a challenge by saying that we want to try and establish ourselves as a good setting team, and Kane Williamson wasn't too unhappy chasing.
Well, I mean, if you look at how India is going to defend this total, that 5th bowling option is going to be key. You know, that those 10 overs of fifth bowler is going to decide how the game is going. Obviously, the start is going to be very crucial, and Bhuvneshwar Kumar and Shami has to set that tone. But Vijay Shankar and how Kedar Jadhav goes about their business is going to be very crucial in terms of deciding factor of this match. If Indians start the way they've been starting, which is picking up those 2 wickets in the first 10 overs, I think they will be in a very commanding position. But if that doesn't happen, and looking at the power of Guptill and Munro, you might get into a scenario where the pressure will be put in the middle overs with the wrist spinners. So that's going to be the deciding factor I think of this match, how the 2 wrist spinners go about it, and more importantly how Shami and Bhuvneshwar gives India the start.
See, the 5th bowler for New Zealand, Colin de Grandhomme and Colin Munro, between them conceded 79. India can afford to concede even 80 with the top 10, because if you concede 80, then you're left with 244 in 240 balls for the lead bowlers. But Zach is spot on, because Zach always thinks wickets. He never thinks economy, he thinks wickets. So if the new ball delivers a couple of wickets and the wrist spinners give you a couple of wickets, you'll still win this game. But I still think we come back to the conservative thing. We say, what if we lose wickets and we fall short? Suppose you say, what if we don't lose wickets? Then the 324 becomes 340. On the odd day, if you lose wickets, the 324 will become 310 or 300. So it's interesting on whether you think, what if we lose wickets or what if we don't lose wickets.
But there was a big talking point there, because when Colin de Grandhomme came to bowl his last couple of overs, obviously he got hit in the first of his two to finish. Then they gave him a break, came in at a crucial stage, gave only 6 runs in that over, and that 79 could have become 90, because you were looking at, are they going to attack him? But that's probably just the stage when the two finishers hadn't got into their groove.
Yeah, and you know what else is going to happen now? You're going to pick Hardik Pandya for the third game, right? So Vijay Shankar is a batting all-rounder. You'll see how he can bowl, but you don't know how he can bat, because he doesn't get to bat. One of the problems with India at the moment is the top 3 or 4 are so good that even Bhuvneshwar, who can bat, but when was the last time you saw Bhuvneshwar bat? So they're just not getting enough game time to bat, and so there's a fear that number 8 downwards there's no runs.
Yeah. Also, I mean, while we talk a lot about the finishing, let's also remind you that you can't really have a good finish if you haven't had a decent enough start, if you haven't had that platform for the big overs to come at the end. And another reminder of what Rohit Sharma and Shikhar Dhawan have done at the top. And there you go, that was the partnership, 154 of 152 balls. There were patches when maybe the New Zealand bowlers came back well and bowled well between the 14th and the 18th overs, but certainly that's really where it all starts.
6 and over, no, Zach? You take 6 and over from your opening
Yeah,
partner,
absolutely. I think these two have been so consistent. You know, they've been the main reason of success. You know, when it comes to start, and we've been giving enough emphasis on how important the start is. You know, be it batting or bowling, and when you have a pair which has been so consistent at the top order. You know what is the mindset of any opponent who is playing against these two. You know, they've always been on defensive. You know, they've been giving such a good start, and these numbers are like, I think every third inning you will see that a 100-run partnership has been made. So
14 times they've had a century stand.
Yeah,
but they're always one of the two is always scoring. I mean, Rohit and Virat have had ridiculous 2018s. Yeah. They have the kind of 2018, if you close your eyes and say, "Yaar, what do I want?" You'll write it for yourself. And Shikhar has had a fantastic 2018, which is not looking that great because of these other two. He's averaged 47, 46, 47. He scored a lot of runs. His strike rate's gone up. So funnily, we're getting into a situation where our top 3 are so good that they're maybe ending up weakening 4, 5, 6, or not getting enough game time. I don't know. It's just a hypothesis.
But you don't want to be critical, but having by his own humongously high standards, you talked about 2018 and the year the skipper has had. If you look at his last 3 innings, particularly for someone who's lethal when he gets to 30 and the opposition's worried. 47, 45, 43, his last 3 innings. You know, it's almost something he'd want to look at it and say, what happened?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, most batsmen would take that, right?
You would. But again, I'm just talking about his high standards.
But what he's also done is he's ensured that when he comes into bat, India have not lost 2 wickets either, right? So he's got partnerships going. Let's look at the partnerships. Where does Virat come in today? 154 for 1. Rohit Sharma gets out at 172. He takes a score to 236. But you're right to the extent that you judge Virat in different scales because he's Virat Kohli. He gets out at 236 in the 40th over, and there's a slump for 5 or 6 overs after that. If Virat was batting there, that slump would not have happened. Yeah, but you get out. It's cricket.
From New Zealand's perspective, just having a look at their bowling, there was a point where you said Lockie Ferguson has really been their standout bowler. Yes, that last over has kind of spoiled his figures, but you know, the pace that he generates could be a bit of a double-edged sword, and that's really what happened towards the end. 10 overs for 81. Remember, we talk about the 5th bowler going for 79? Your lead bowler in that sense, along with Trent Boult, went for 81 in his 10 overs.
Yes, I think you have to judge a bowler's performance based on the conditions, and today's conditions are not that easy. So how you've created that impact on the game, I think both Trent Boult and Lockie Ferguson have been fantastic with the ball. They are the one who have kept India at this power score, even though the numbers might not suggest that way. But there were phases of the game after 15 overs, Lockie Ferguson bowled those 3-4 overs, you know, where he really put pressure on Rohit and Shikhar both around that time, and you saw that phase off. You know, when you have such a game, when you're talking about a possibility of 350, 360 runs, and you restrict the team around par score, I think you've done well as a bowling unit. The fifth bowler was a concern, which is the figures are suggesting of that. So even though Indian batsmen have been putting pressure on the bowlers, New Zealand bowlers have done well to stay in the game right through and through, because you're talking about last over going for 21 runs. So you take those 21 runs out and it's 300 runs.
Yeah.
So even on a tough wicket, tough conditions, they have maintained themselves in the game.
Look at his last 2 overs. There's a catch put down. There's a boundary that went below the keeper's gloves. It's funny how, I guess, over a 50-game career, these games even out. These things even out. That one day you bowl badly and you have a good game. But today he's gone 10 overs, 2 for 81. But he's given you 2 wickets. He's given you the wicket of Raidu and Rohit Sharma. He could have had the wicket of Dhoni. On another day, he could have bowled exactly the same and finished with 4 for 60. So this thing happens.
Also, a quick word about Ish Sodhi. We don't often talk about a bowler when he hasn't taken a wicket, but he's bowled 39, 41 and 43, 3 overs for 11 second spell, and finished with under 50 in his 10.
I mean, look at this. Zach, we're talking at 6.48 innings run rate. He's gone at 4.3.
Yeah.
What more do you want?
And that too, when you have someone like Rohit Sharma who is not giving you any margin there,
But,
just short of length, and you latch onto it. So that's something.
Is that
which,
suggestive
which
though,
is,
that
which
the
is
spinners
credible.
bowled 10 overs 43, India have 20, maybe 24 overs of spin. India have maybe 24, 25 overs of slow bowling.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's 20 overs of wrist spin to come with the opposition who don't play it as well as India do. So that's certainly going to be a factor when it comes to this run chase. 300 has been the talking point. New Zealand against Sri Lanka had to put on stiff totals there to keep Sri Lanka at bay. We talked about Thisara Perera briefly. 371, 319 they defended. When India A played, they chased twice in excess of 300. So we know that really is the kind of par you're talking about on the surface.
It's set up well, isn't it? It's set up well. The batsmen have laid the platform, but it's up to the bowlers to win India the game.
Yeah, and maybe the Ish Sodhi's figures are suggestive of that fact. And after the game, maybe in the hindsight, New Zealand think tank must be thinking how important was that Santner's decision of leaving him out of the playing 11, because his replacement has been Grandom, and Grandom has gone for 8 over 62. Now he has to really make it up with batting, because that's what the emphasis has been given on. So we'll have to wait and watch how things pan out.
I wonder if teams that go hard at the top, you look at which are the 2 teams that go hard at the top, England and New Zealand. They go really hard at the top, they go bang, bang, bang. Those are the teams that need batting at 7 and 8, because some days you'll certainly lose 3 in that. So maybe that is why they wanted Grandom's batting at 7.
Well, for all of you out there on CricBuzz Live who have been sending in those tweets by the thousands saying, how dare you say anything against Virat Kohli? We weren't criticizing him. We were just saying when a man sets such high standards, 340s in a row could be a bit of a worry, bit of a cause for concern. But
are you worried, Gautam Vimani?
No, I'm not worried.
Saying on Twitter?
I'm not worried. I'm just trying to give the viewers some good news that we're going to throw you back to a time when on the 26th of January, on Republic Day a few years ago, when a gentleman here was in the dressing room, Virat Kohli, first Test 100 on Republic Day in Adelaide. Good memory of that?
It was followed by the Perth 90, I think. He scored 90 in Perth.
He got runs in Perth.
Yeah, runs in Perth, and then he was close to 100. He was so badly wanting to get to that first 100, and it happened.
But wasn't it interesting, Zach? Because you were there. I think I was there too. There was talk of leaving Virat Kohli out for the Perth Test match and maybe playing Rohit Sharma, and they went with Virat Kohli. And he got runs in Perth, not the 100. He got runs in Perth, and with that confidence, he went to Adelaide and got a 100. It was borderline. If you look at, I think how many he got, he didn't get too many in the first 2. In the first 2 Test matches, I think.
My memory is not.
Yeah, in the
that
first 2
strong,
Melbourne,
but I think he was.
Also, remember this is 2011. He didn't play the
2012.
2012. Yeah.
11, 12.
He hadn't played the Test matches in England because his debut in West Indies as a Test player hadn't been great. And then he came. He didn't have the first 2 Test matches. They kept faith in him for the Perth Test. He got a few runs there and then got 100 in Adelaide.
Yeah. I mean,
it's Australia Day also, apart from Republic Day, so that's how they have a
I didn't say it,
there.
you did.
No, they have a game there on that day.
Of course they
do. Always have an India-Australia game in Adelaide.
In Adelaide, either an ODI or a Test match. But interestingly, I mean, at that time, you remember, look at that. It always looks a little bit different.
A lot different.
A lot different.
He was not into fitness those days that much. and he's taken things to another level after that. You can see the chubby cheeks are there, and now you have a chiseled
This was
face.
the good Chandni Chowk ke chole ladka.
But given
Chandni
how
Chowk ke
much,
chole ladka.
I know today we are playing an ODI, I know it's the year of the World Cup, but given how much emphasis he himself has placed on India as a test team and himself as a test player, that day in Adelaide, 26 January, would have been a defining moment for him. Getting that test 100 out of the way and knowing that, well, it's as many to follow.
Absolutely. I think the importance of test match cricket has been ingrained in all this generation thanks to all the Fab Four as we've been talking about. You know, you have Sachin, you have Lakshman, you have Dravid. They have
I
set
thought you were
such.
talking about Kumble, Harbhajan, Zahir as a Fab Four.
No, that's the all-rounders list which you're going through. We need not talk about the all-rounders right now, but I think that was very important. So you have such high benchmarks set by your experienced cricketers, the seniors who have led the way. I think that's something which drives everyone in terms of making that achievement, because end of the day everyone knows that Test cricket is the highest level of cricket. Where as bowlers you have all the freedom to exploit the weaknesses of the batsman. So as a batsman you want to prove yourself in different conditions, different situations and scenarios to make that stamp of authority in terms of accomplished player. You can deal with any kind of scenarios and situations.
But could you sense that when we know Virat Kohli's reactions on the field, sometimes more exuberant than most, but when he came back in, was there still a feeling of that achievement, not just for him but for the team as a whole, knowing that okay, this is a stepping stone for this man?
No, he was so disappointed in Perth, and that's something which was always the case with him. He's such a driven guy. He always had these milestones, and he would passionately chase them. So that's something which has always been the case with Virat, and that was just the beginning of what we've been seeing in the last 7-8 years.
Yeah, it's a good game to bring up actually. What would have happened to Virat if he had finished that tour of Australia? I mean, he would still have been a great player. There's no doubt. But the fact that he got 100 in Australia might just have filled him with confidence. He's already a good one-day player, remember. And was it on that tour that he went on to get that classic 100 against Sri Lanka when India were chasing 320, 330
that
something?
That was in Hobart.
In Hobart.
In 40 overs.
Yeah, when India got there. He'd already won a World Cup, remember, by then. So you knew he was going to be a good player. But just that 100 probably told him inside, because he loves Test match cricket.
Yeah.
His was the generation that we were worried about. Post Virat Kohli, will people love Test match cricket? And what Virat Kohli is doing for Test match cricket is so good, because Virat Kohli is telling the next generation also, the IPL T20 generation, that you must aspire to Test cricket and not just be happy playing white ball cricket. So
I guess one good example of that generation, one of them being Rishabh Pant. You probably would have imagined him being in the David Warner mold, coming into from essentially blossoming from T20 cricket. Initially, you wouldn't have ever imagined him even in the white clothes going out there and scoring 100.
And now he's in the ICC Test match 11 of the ICC Test Team of the Year. Rishabh. Yeah. But it's interesting, for someone who's not in this team, we were listening to the commentary from there as well, for someone who's not been picked for this team, we're talking an awful lot about Rishabh Pant. And I thought he'll play all 5 games against English Lions. My gut feel then, Zach, was that they've left him out of this team because you're the marginal player to go and bat maybe number 4 for India A against England A, get 5 games there and go to New Zealand and play the...
Did he bat at number 4?
He didn't play the first 3 games. He only played the last 2 games.
Okay.
He hasn't played the first 3 games, yeah. Anyway, we'll see.
Yeah, it's interesting that we can keep chatting about Rishabh Pant. It just shows that when you're knocking on the door, you haven't been forgotten. But at the moment, it's, New Zealand who are going to be knocking on the door of chasing that 325. Where do you see this going? Is it all about that start that the likes of Guptill and Munro are going to provide?
I think as Zach said, I think it's a par score. It could have been a better score, but it's a par score. And if as he said, your new ball can give you those 2 wickets, then India will be favourites.
I think it's 70% in India's favour for sure, purely because of how the bowling form has been for Indian bowlers and the bowling unit, the way they've been stacking up. So I think even if they don't pick up those early wickets, how they've been picking, and instead of 2 they might just pick 1 today, but they will still have the commanding position in the game because of those 20-25 overs. Ish Sodhi's figures are suggestive of that fact that spinners might be able to play a better role in this match and have a greater impact on the game. And as Indian bowling unit, you have 3 spin options, so that's something which should be a deciding factor, and that cushion which is there with the Indian team right now.
Yes, Zaheer Khan's talked a lot about those 2 wickets to be taken up front in those first 10 overs. I reckon we'll have a very good idea of where this match starts or stands when we come for Crickbuzz Combox in the 15th over, because if New Zealand by that time are 80 without loss, it's going to be one story. On the other hand, if they're 55 for 2, it could be another story altogether. But that's the beauty of this game. We'll see you at Crickbuzz Combox and, of course, wrap it all up at the end when we return for Crickbuzz Live. Thank you, Harsha. Thank you, Zaheer.
Thank you.
See you guys soon.